And I'm going to pull up one of my completed estimates. This is just a drywall and flooring estimate. This is already set to go, and I just want to convert this into a template for future use. So in this particular estimate, we were removing or replacing a door, some drywall, and some flooring. So all of those parts are already added into my estimate with quantities for each. And if I want to convert this into a template, the first step is going to be to find this More button up here in the top right. You're going to see this looks like 3 dots. We're going to click that, and then we're going to go ahead and click Save as Template. And when we do that, that's going to pull up this little wizard where we can begin saving the project as a template. So the first thing it's going to ask us to do here is give the template a name. I'm just going to go ahead and call it Drywall and Flooring. Next, it's going to ask us to enter in a template description. This is going to copy this from your project description, but don't get tripped up here. This template description does not appear on your reports. It's really more used for instructions for the estimator. So certain clear estimates templates, you'll pull those up and there'll be an instruction up at the top to let you know that this template includes a couple of different flooring options. Maybe it's a couple of different types of electrical parts, and it tells you to uncheck any parts that you're not going to need. So this is a great place for instructions for the estimator. In my case, I'm just going to leave that as is. We can also select a category if we want, similar to what we were doing in the templates tool. We can select a category here. I'm going to, once again, just leave it in custom templates. And then next, it's going to ask us what parts we want to add to the template. So we have a choice between the main project parts. That's all this estimate has, is just parts in the main project parts window here. But if we had different components, earlier we were talking about components and alternates being sort of a section where you can build a change order, and components are just organizational tools to organize the estimate by room or phase. So maybe you have a kitchen and a bath in the same estimate, and it just sort of organizes those sections on the proposal. So if we did have parts in different components or alternates, we could also save those to the template. We can choose all parts from the main project, components, and alternates, and have it added to just one long template list. The thing is, something like a component or an alternate, these are considered subsections of the estimate, and they occur at the project level, more or less. A template does not have sections, so the template doesn't have different components or alternates included in it. So what would happen is if we selected all parts from all areas of the project, it's just going to add it all to one long template list. Now, of course, we could open up individual components or alternates and save those as templates as well. I'm not going to get into this too much today. I'm going to share out a resource here at the end of the presentation that really gets into this process in depth and talks about these different situations with components and with alternates. But in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and select the main project parts here, and we'll go ahead and click Next. And then it's going to ask us a question. It's going to say, how do you want to handle parts in the project that have been modified from their original part library settings? And it's giving us two choices: add as a new custom part to the library with settings from the project, or use original part library settings. Now, this is a really weird question, and you might be confused when you're looking at this. So basically what happens, if you remember back to the beginning, we talked about how templates always get their part information from the part library. But Clear Estimates is really flexible in the sense that you can add a bunch of parts to an estimate, go through and make changes to the descriptions or the costs, and have those changes live only in the project without overwriting those settings for those parts in your part library. So that's great because it allows you a lot of flexibility in the project. The trouble is when you try to save a project as a template that has changes in the parts from what's in the library for those same parts, it no longer has something to reference. So the template's not going to be able to look back at your project and take a look at those changes you made in the estimate and add those into a template. It needs something to look at in that part library. So basically, we'd have a choice between creating a new part with the changes we made, or just ignore the changes we made and use the original part library settings. In this example, I'm going to select the second option. I really haven't adjusted anything about the parts in this particular estimate, other than just adding in quantities. And really, this is just talking about descriptions and costs. But I am going to come back to this in the next example, and we're going to talk about what happens if you've modified parts. In this example, I'm just going to go ahead and use the original part library settings. And next, it's going to ask us what part quantities do we want to use in the template. So it does want to save some kind of quantity to the items in my template. So it's giving us a choice. We can either set it to the quantity from the project, or we can set it as 0 or 1. No matter what we select here, it's going to save our template parts as a fixed number of units. So if you remember back to our bathroom template, we use that for the toilet. It's something that regardless of the template size, it's going to be a fixed amount. So it's not going to be able to automatically create an advanced template from your project. It's going to save it as a basic template with just fixed quantities for each. So I'm going to go ahead and select set each part's quantity to 0. And then we'll go ahead and preview. And this is just what it's going to be. It's going to be this list of 6 parts from my project. And what the estimator is going to do, in kind of like we showed you in that first example, is just use this as a list of parts, and they'll be able to plug in the quantities for each part at the time that they're using the estimate in a project. So let's go ahead and create template. And that's going to take us right up to our templates tool again, and it's going to automatically open up our new project template here in the templates tool, where we can see all of the different settings. So if we want, we can just leave it like this, call it a day, and then later we'll be able to very quickly add in this template to a project. The estimator will tell Clear Estimates how much they need of each part, and it'll just automatically save this as a very basic template that you can use to avoid forgetting parts in the future.